Hello everyone, and this week we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of just looking at a single movie so that my video doesn't get copyright again today, I will be looking at 5 different movies that actually have their main plot come from real life events. Number 5 may come as a surprise to some of you, that being the 1984 slasher movie A Nightmare on Elm Street, directed by Wes Craven. In an interview with the Vulture for the film's 30th anniversary, Wes Craven stated that the film's premise was actually from the Los Angeles Times article about young male Southeast Asian refugees who died in their sleep, some of the men even refusing to sleep because of the nightmares they felt would lead to their death, with a total of 26 men dying in their sleep back in 1981. There was even written in the New York Times article that Dr. Michael McGee, assistant medical examiner from Ramsey County, Minnesota, which includes St. Paul where 4 of the deaths occurred, stated, "I know what they didn't die of. They didn't die of getting shot in the head, stabbed in the heart, they didn't fall off the roof, they didn't get poisoned because we did an autopsy in each of these cases and got a big 0. So next time you lay your head down to sleep, remember, Freddy could be coming for you." Number 4 comes a movie that you probably already know is based off of real life events, and that would be The Conjuring. As we all know, The Conjuring is a rough recreation of the stories of Ed and Lorraine Warren, one of these cases even being the case of Annabelle, the evil doll, which could in its own right be a part of this list, but I felt like that would be cheating to add multiple things from the same cinematic universe into this movie list. But to be specific, the movie The Conjuring was based off of the Perot family hauntings in the 1970s. The Perot family was subject to terrifying hauntings by multiple nefarious spirits that made their life at their Rhode Island farmhouse a living nightmare. The exorcism scene in The Conjuring was based off of a real-life seance conducted by Lorraine Warren in the house to conduct the spirits that were terrorizing the Perot family, and the oldest Perot family member, Andrea, even claimed to see her mother Carolyn become possessed and start speaking in tongues, even levitating off the ground. Number 3 would be the movie Borderland. Borderland is a movie that's roughly based off of the life of Adolfo Constanzo, which, if you knew who this man was, I remember hearing about him in one of the true crime things that I listened to, but this guy is an absolute lunatic. Adolfo has 16 confirmed murders and is suspected of 26. And before you ask yourself why is this guy such a lunatic besides the fact that he almost killed 30 people, well, that's because Adolfo was a man where he started off as a drug dealer and decided the best way to grow his drug empire would be to start a cult and commit sacrifices. Even with some of the people that he sacrificed, he would keep the spinal columns from them and wear it as a necklace. He was only found out on March 13th, 1989 when his henchmen abducted a pre-med student, Mark Kilroy, from outside of a Mexican bar and took him back to this ranch. Unfortunately for them, Mark Kilroy was a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. doesn't take too kindly to stealing their pre-med students. So upon investigating this crime, they found out that the reason that his henchmen abducted the pre-med student was for a ritual in which Adolfo sought a good superior brain for one of his ritual spells. So, although Borderland is roughly based off of a man's life story, nothing can come close to being as terrifying as the real-life story itself. Coming in at number 2, and one that really hit home for me, was The Strangers. The Strangers is a movie about a couple alone in their house when they are visited by a strange girl at the front door. This girl then begins to terrorize the family along with her presumed parents. This story was actually inspired by the real-life violent crimes, including the murders committed by the Mason families in the 1981 Ketty cabin murders, which 4 people were killed by 3 masked assailants in a California resort town. The reason that this one hits home for me is mainly due to the fact that it could happen to anyone. It's not some crazy cult, it's not a possession, and it's not an exorcist or anything like that. It's just simply 3 messed up people who could show up at anyone's door, even your own. Coming in at number 1, which I'm sure none of you would suspect to be based off a true story, is the 1963 movie The Birds. This movie was directed by Alfred Hitchcock and was actually based in a 1961 event where the birds of Monterey Bay area were reportedly acting disoriented and rammed into people's houses due to an unknown cause. It wasn't until 50 years later that this incident in 2011 that it was reported that researchers found a toxin making algae in the birds that caused amnesia, disorientation, and seizures. So who could have known that a movie about birds attacking people would actually be based off of a true story? That true story being the fact that the birds were so screwed up on algae that it was giving them amnesia, disorienting them, and giving them seizures. The whole triple pounder wombo combo. But those are 5 movies that are based off somewhat real life events. Maybe some have taken a little bit of privileges with the story, but if you ever feel like you're watching a horror movie and think that it might be a little too far out there, think again, because even if it's a movie about birds attacking people, it could be true. And it could happen to you. Anyways, thank you everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Remember to like and subscribe, and fingers crossed this one also doesn't get copyright.